Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast. On today's podcast, I'm joined by incoming senior on the Florida women's lacrosse team, Danielle Pavinelli. Danielle was on the 2023 All-AAC First Team. She was also a 2023 All-AAC Tournament Team and was on the 2023 Tewaaraton Watch List and was the 2021 AAC Freshman of the Year. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on the podcast today. And how's everything going?
Thank you for having me. Everything's going great. The summer's been really nice so far, just getting a little break from school and everything and just relaxing with the family. So everything's going good.
Yeah, and how has your summer been going overall? Whether it's been, have you done anything interesting, whether it's been lacrosse related or not?
Yeah, I actually just went to Hawaii with some of my roommates. So that was like a really cool thing that we did together right after season. And then yeah, I've been coaching a Yellow Jackets team, a fourth grade team. So that's been like so much fun just teaching like the young girls about everything because they just love the sport. So it's been really cool to just kind of like guide them and coach them in different ways.
Yeah, what's Hawaii like? I've never been, but I've always wanted to go.
It was awesome. It was my first time there too, and it was just so cool. We were there for like 12 days and it was just like an awesome experience. We did a bunch of hikes and everything like that.
Yeah, I'd love to go one day. It's definitely on my bucket list. One of my favorite shows is Hawaii Life on HGTV, and I always like watching and seeing all the different houses that are out there. So I definitely love to visit one day. So I'm very jealous of you for getting to do that.
Yes, I checked it off my list as well. It was like that was one thing I wanted to do and I did it.
Now, outside of doing all that fun stuff, what are you working on in regards to training for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I do a lot of my own training. So, just at the local fields, I do my own like kind of shooting and stuff like that. And I also go to acceleration, which is in Long Island, and that's works on strength and conditioning. So that's been a really big help for me. I've been going to that place for like 8 years now. So that's been like an awesome experience for me, and that's helped me so much grow as a player.
Now, being a senior on the team next season, what type of leadership do you want to bring to the team? Would you consider yourself more of a vocal leader or a lead by example type of player? I saw on your bio that you were a captain last year, so I assume you sort of want to build off that.
Yes. So I think in the past I was definitely more of a like lead by example kind of leader, but as you said, I became a captain this year and I think I had to take on more of a role as being a vocal leader and just improving on my skills at, like vocally and just being able to encourage and motivate my teammates and that sort of sense was something that I've learned over the past season and that came with a lot of confidence and just kind of building my own confidence to be able to trust my teammates and build that trust between us that, if I tell them something, it's in like it's in ways to help the team as a whole. So that's definitely becoming more of a vocal leader has been something I've been working on this year. And yeah, I think it's really been helping.
Now, let's transition and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So you're from Northport, New York. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, Northport's a great town. It's definitely a lacrosse town. So growing up on Long Island, everyone kind of plays lacrosse. So Northport's definitely a lacrosse town, and I mean it's just awesome. It's right on the water, so there's boat days. I had a great childhood growing up in Northport, and kind of how I got into lacrosse is I wanted to play with my friends. All my friends were playing. I started playing in kindergarten, so that was just a way to like hang out with my friends. And my sister had just started playing. My older sister so I kind of saw interest in playing lacrosse because of her. And so I got into it and I just found a love for it and stuck with it.
Did you watch any lacrosse growing up? And if so, who were some of your favorite players that you admired?
So yes, I definitely watched a lot of lacrosse growing up. My sister also played at University of Florida and she was there when Shannon Gilroy, who's a Northport alumni also, and the Pareckas were all there. So those were like great players. So I definitely watched a lot of Florida lacrosse growing up. And I mean, Shannon and my sister Allie were definitely like my favorite players to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool to have a role model to sort of help guide you when they sort of know what it's like to sort of help you out so it's not as stressful, I feel like.
Yes, it was definitely a lot of help.
Now, before college, you played for your high school lacrosse team at Northport, where you had a lot of individual and team success with that program. Talk about your experience there and what you take away from it when you look back on your high school career now.
Yeah, Northport High School had a great lacrosse program, and it all started with Coach Carol Rose. She runs a whole club program on her own. So, I mean, just from such a young age, I was going to like varsity practices with my sister, just like watching them, and so I kind of just like found this love for Northport lacrosse, and it was such a great experience. My coaches taught me so much over the years. I had great teammates. I mean, at least half my teammates went D1, so I was playing with, I mean, outstanding players that like made me the player I am today. So, I mean, Northport was a great experience, and I don't have enough good things to say about it.
Yeah, you sort of answered one of my next questions, but how did your high school lacrosse experience help prepare you for college? I assume playing with those players, but also maybe against some of those other D1 commits in your area must have sort of made that transition easier once heading off to college.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, Long Island is stacked with just outstanding lacrosse players. So in high school, I was playing against the best of the best. So it definitely prepared me a lot for college. And I saw a lot of the same players that I played against in high school that I'm now playing against in college. So it's cool to see.
What's the best memory you have from your high school career when you look back on it now?
I would say probably winning the state championship. That was just such a surreal moment. It's like something you look forward to like your entire life, and to just be able to accomplish it was like the best feeling ever. And I was surrounded by like my best friends who are my teammates. So it was just, that was probably my favorite memory.
Now, you also played basketball in high school, and I saw an article how like your basketball career sort of helped you out in your lacrosse career as well. So I want to ask you, talk about, I guess, playing basketball in high school and how do you think it helped you in lacrosse? Because I'm assuming it just made you more athletic because you're working on different muscles playing that sport compared to lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, basketball was a huge part of my life. My family's all basketball players, so I always thought I was going to go to college for basketball. So that was, I always stuck with basketball throughout until I graduated high school, and that taught me so much with lacrosse. Um, just because the way the games are played are very similar, so like defense and offense, it's like you wouldn't think that they connect, but they do in a sense of like just how you play defense, how you look for cutters and passing the ball. So I think a lot of the skills I learned in basketball transferred over to the lacrosse field as well.
Who's your favorite basketball team or player?
Right in the NBA.
Just in general, it could be a women's player as well.
Well, I'm a New York Knicks fan, so I love them all. I mean, my dad is a huge Knicks fan, so I've gone to a bunch of games. I loved like Carmelo Anthony, but he's not on the team anymore. So
Probably a Julius Randle person now, I assume.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Celtics fan, so I know we'll have a lot. I don't want to start some tension in this interview already, so but I'll just leave it at that. But sort of talk about your recruiting process with Florida and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at. I know your sister went there,
Mhm.
but I'm assuming that wasn't the main reason why you want to go. There's probably other factors as well.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up watching Florida lacrosse, so I kind of fell in love with that at a young age. And I mean, the recruiting process was very different when I was getting recruited than it is now. So you could get recruited at any age. So going into my ninth grade year, it was like that was the kind of recruiting year for me. And I mean, I visited a bunch of schools, but as soon as I got to Florida, I just knew it was the place for me. I mean, you have everything there, like the good weather, the campus is unbelievable, the coaching staff, the facilities, they just had everything that I was looking for, and I just knew it was the spot that I was meant to be.
How does a girl from Long Island become a Florida lacrosse fan? I'm just curious about that.
Well, I think it's because of Shannon Gilroy and my sister that it
Mhm.
was just like I would want to watch them play lacrosse. So then I just like loved Florida because I would go to all their games and I would see their fan base and the school and everything. So I just kind of fell in love with it that way.
What was sort of the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse, especially as an attacker going up against some of those top defenders in the country?
I think a big adjustment that I had was like your physical and mental toughness. I think high school, it's tough, but college is like a different level. Like you're going against stronger, more athletic defenders, more athletic just players in general. So it's easy to get hard on yourself, but that's something that you learn with experience and with time, and that's something that was a big adjustment for me coming in freshman year. I was a 18-year-old going against, 22-year-olds, so it was definitely hard, and I think that's just something that came from experience and just, just getting that mental and physical strength was a big adjustment for me, and I mean, it's worked out in the end, but it was something freshman year that I think a lot of freshmen struggle with.
Now, during your freshman year, your team won your first American Conference title. Talk about winning that championship your freshman year, and what'd you take away from it, from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was so exciting. We had such a great team that year, and just being a freshman, I was new to all these things. Winning a conference championship was just like it was just awesome to experience that, and to just be surrounded by such a good team, such good teammates. It was awesome, and we had a tough schedule, and to just be able to get that win at the end of the season and win the conference is just something you look forward to every year. So it was definitely fun to get that my freshman year.
Now, in the tournament, you made it all the way to the NCAA quarterfinals. What did you learn from your first tournament experience, hosting and winning your regional, but then eventually losing to a really good Syracuse team, in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, being a freshman, it's definitely nervous to think you're entering the NCAA tournament, and but I mean, it was everything that I would hope it would be. We won our first two rounds, like against I think it was Jacksonville and Mercer. Those were two really good teams at the time, and then we went on to play Syracuse, who was just a stacked roster. And I mean, it's definitely nerve wracking, but in like the best way possible. It's so exciting, and to be in the Elite Eight, it's just a surreal feeling. And we had a great team that year. Unfortunately, we didn't get the win, but it was such an exciting game to be a part of.
Now, what's it like playing in the American Conference? Just the competition you face each game. Uh, yeah, I'm just curious about that because I feel like it's sort of a conference that isn't as well known as maybe some of the other
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah, so I think the American Conference, yeah, it's not as well known as maybe like the ACC or like the Big East or Big Ten. But I do think we go up against some really good competition, and when we're playing these teams, they're giving us their best every single time because like Florida has won the conference championship for the past, I think, 3 years. And so I think it's something that we receive each team's best game every single time we play a team. So it's something that really motivates us and prepares us for like the playoffs. And I mean, there's a lot of great teams in this conference that I don't think get enough recognition. And um, yeah, I mean, it's a much harder conference than I think people think.
Now, during your sophomore year, you were outstanding, in my opinion. One stat that really popped out to me is you registered over 12 hat tricks in the season, and you had a total of 18 multi-goal games. So I
Mm.
sort of want to ask you, as an attacker, how do you improve your shot and find different ways to create space and have passing lanes, but also get good shots and find ways to score, especially with all the defenders sort of whacking you at all the time. I'm just curious about that because it's something that I sort of caught my eyes just watching your highlights and all that stuff is how you sort of find different ways to score. And teams are always finding different ways to stop you, so you sort of have to keep constantly adjust every game it feels like.
Yeah, so I think that comes a lot from my teammates and my team because at practice, they're always pushing me to do my best. So, I know what to expect in these games. I know to expect that best defender is going to slide to me or play on me. So I think a lot comes from practice and just from experience, learning how to find new ways to get around. If one thing's not working, like what else could I do? What is the open opportunity for me? And if shooting isn't working, like then I'll be more of a passer that game. It's like it's kind of just evaluating the game as you go and figuring out what's working for you and what's not working for you. And I do think that comes with a little bit of experience because, you know, being so young, you might get frustrated with like your games not working, like and how you play. But as you get older and as just more practices and more games you play, and you kind of just are able to develop that skill and think, what's working and how do I, make that work in the game, do that kind of job instead.
And what would you say is the biggest improvement you've made to your game since your freshman year?
I mean, freshman year, I came in as a midi. I've been a midfielder my whole life. So I think a big improvement I made was just going to attack and being able to, play different positions. Sometimes I would play at X, and then sometimes I play at the top of the key. So I think that was an improvement for me because I learned how to play all those different positions, whether it's midfield, high attack or low attack. So just being able to be put at any spot and being confident in the spot I'm in is definitely something I've improved upon over the past 3 years in college, and it's something I'll continue to improve upon.
How do you work on your confidence, especially when you've been switching positions, and sort of how do you adapt to learning the new position so quickly?
Yeah, I think confidence is built off of just practice and hard work. So if you know how good you are, like as a player, you know what your skills are, you know what you're good at. So I think that's where you have to be confident in and trust in yourself that you are able to, succeed at this. So you just have to have faith in yourself and believe and motivate yourself because it's easy to lose confidence, especially if something's not going your way. So just kind of sticking with what you know and what you are good at and just building off of that and building that confidence to move on to bigger and better things.
Now, what did you take away from your team's performance this past year, winning the American Championship for the third straight year against a really good James Madison team, but then unfortunately getting upset by Notre Dame in the tournament in your home field?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, this team was a great team. We had a great year. Like you said, James Madison going into our conference this year was a huge addition to the American Conference. I mean, we lost them earlier on in the year, and I think that was a big, motivator for us because we wanted to come back in that conference championship. We wanted to see them again and to prove how good we are. So I think losing to them early on in the year was just it forced us to be better and to just learn from all the from mistakes that we had made in the past. And so beating them in the conference championship was just such like it was full circle. Everything that we had worked for like throughout the entire season like paid off in the end. And I mean, Notre Dame was such a great team. Unfortunately, we lost them in tournament, but they were an outstanding team. We gave them our all. We fought till like the last second. They scored. But we gave it our all and they were, I mean, props to them. They were outstanding and it didn't work for us, but we'll be back again next year and we're ready to work hard to get past that spot next year.
Now, throughout your time in Florida, your team has been one that's sort of the top teams in the country, being sort of consistently ranked. So my question is, how does your team sort of maintain that consistency throughout the regular season, but also sort of handle the pressure of being one of the top ranked teams in the country? Because there's always going to be a target on your team's back, no matter which team plays you guys.
I mean, that just comes from like working hard every day at practice. We all push each other in the best way possible. We all want each other to succeed and be the best version of ourselves, person and player. So I think just being able to help a teammate out in any way that you can on and off the field, but especially at practice, is where we build our confidence, our skills, everything. Our coaches have helped us out so much in just maintaining that consistency and being one of the top 10 teams every year. And that just comes from a lot of hard work. And this team is just some of the hardest workers I've ever seen. And I mean, it proves it to you when we are top 10 every year.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for next season? I assume it's to get past the quarterfinals and try to make it into that final four of the lacrosse tournament.
Yes, I think every team's goal is, make it to the Final Four and get that national championship, and that's definitely ours. I mean, that's something we'll work for till the day we get back on campus. That's something that's always, that loss to Notre Dame will always be in the back of our mind, just, kind of motivating us to get past there and get to the Final Four and just keep going because we all want it. And, I think that'll be a big motivator for us this year.
So we're now in a segment I like to call 6 questions that have nothing to do with lacrosse. The goal is to get to know you hopefully a little bit more off the field, as well as maybe some of your teammates as well. So first one is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
If there was a movie made about my life, who would I want to play? God, let me think.
I
Who
can
would
give you my answer if you
Okay, who would be
I would just say Tom Cruise would be pretty cool
Mm,
just because he does a
would
lot of cool stunts and he would make my life look more interesting
yes.
than it actually is.
I mean, maybe I would say I love Mila Kunis, so maybe I want her to play me. I think she'd be really, cool.
Nice. What music do you like to listen to?
I listen to a little bit of everything, but I would probably say I listen most to country.
Nice.
The Florida Southern has brought country into my life, and it's stuck.
I feel like it's coming northeast a little bit because, at
It
least to
definitely is.
me, I feel like it's starting to become more popular, more mainstream than it was growing up.
Yes, definitely.
I will say I've been swooped up in that too. I worked for a baseball team last summer, and a lot of the guys are from the West Coast and down south. So that's like the majority of country music they listen to. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, I got hooked on it. Big Thomas Rhett and Morgan Wallen fan.
Mm.
Probably sort of a casual answer, but I definitely like listening to those guys.
Yes. No, me too. I really and I hated it all my life until I got to Florida, and then I was like, okay, I do like it.
I never really acknowledged it. I just never listened to it. And now, like, once sort of got a taste of hearing it all the time, it sort of got me hooked.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now, speaking of teammates, who is the funniest on the team?
Who is the funniest on the team? I would probably say my roommate, Ashley Gonzalez. She is a character.
Which
In the
teammate has the best social media account or like best Instagram?
best Instagram, ooh, maybe Emily Heller or Janine Suris. There's so many. I can't even.
Who has the best style off the field on the team besides yourself, obviously?
Who has the best style? I would say probably Bella Palagonia.
Now, which holiday is the most overrated holiday and which holiday is the most underrated holiday?
I would say the most overrated holiday is probably Halloween. Spend a lot of money on costumes. And then the most underrated, I think Thanksgiving. I don't even know if it is underrated, but I love that holiday.
I would say it's pretty underrated. I don't think
Yeah,
it gets
because
the love
yeah,
it deserves.
people say Christmas, and I'm like, I think I like Thanksgiving better.
I think Christmas is properly rated. It's probably the best holiday. But I definitely think Thanksgiving's probably two or three. I
Yeah.
don't know what would be given its run for its money, but I would say definitely two or three.
Hmm.
I would say most overrated for me would be Valentine's Day. I just don't care about it at all. Even when I'm in a relationship, I just don't care about it.
Hmm.
And but I will say it's cool seeing who's in a relationship and who's not.
Yes, that is
Um,
true.
but I would say the most underrated holiday is probably 4th of July. I think that's a good
Yeah.
holiday that
Mhm.
doesn't get enough love, even though this year it kind of sucked because the weather was bad.
The weather was terrible. Yeah, I think 4th of July is awesome. I didn't know if it was underrated or not because it's one of my favorite holidays. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. It's underrated for me, at least for me, it is.
mhm.
So, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
What is the most, oh, um, what is the most interesting? Well, I guess my friends just got inducted in the MLB. They just got drafted in the MLB. So I feel like I don't know, that's something really cool that I just saw. My friends from my teammates, like the team at Florida, the baseball team,
Yeah,
a couple of my friends just got drafted. So that was like really cool to see. And,
who
you
got
know,
drafted? Give him a shout out.
Colby Halter, my best friend.
Which team is he getting drafted by?
He just got drafted by the Oakland A's.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Really proud of him.
Yeah. I did see some of the draft, big Red Sox fan, and I saw they drafted a catcher from Virginia. So, and apparently he was supposed to be a top 10 pick. So hopefully they got a steal.
There you go.
But the most interesting thing I saw this week is I saw in Thailand, they're selling an only cheeseburger where it's the bread and 20 slices of American cheese, and it looks completely gross. I feel
Oh,
like you're sort of asking to get stomach pains for the next few
yeah.
days after eating that. It looked disgusting, but I
I
guess people in Thailand really like it a lot.
oh, I can't imagine eating that.
No, no, no. I need it. Listen, I can have a cheat meal once in a while, but even that's a little too much for myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Last non-lacrosse question is, what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to cross off one day?
One item on my bucket list is definitely skydiving. I wanted to do it in Hawaii, but we didn't get around to doing it because it was too late to plan. But that is definitely something I want to, cross off my bucket list for sure.
For me, it's just traveling. Hawaii is on that list, so I'd say either Hawaii or sort of like the national parks. In the West Coast, like Yosemite, Grand Canyon, stuff like that. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yes, I agree.
Now we're now in the final segment of the podcast. I call it the final three. It's three questions I ask everyone who I have on. First one is, what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I mean, I think things just like this podcast, just getting that coverage of women's lacrosse and just kind of, expanding it and growing it in any way possible. I mean, I go to University of Florida, and in Florida, it's not lacrosse is getting there, but it's still not how it is in the Northeast. So I think just getting this coverage out there and just expanding the sport because people are interested about it. Like people all the time in the South just will ask me about lacrosse and they'll come check out a game and they'll love it, but they've just never heard of it before. So I think things like this podcast and just more coverage around women's lacrosse would be huge for the sport. And I think it would get a lot of new players.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think lacrosse seems, at least to me as a newer fan, has a lot of diehard fans, but not a lot of casual fans. I know people hate casual fans, but that's how sports are popular. Like if you look at football, for example, football has a ton of casual fans. Like even people that don't watch football know some of the players and teams. And I feel like you look at a player like Izzy Skane, everyone who plays lacrosse knows who she is, but people who don't even know who she is. And I feel like it's sort of getting people who don't really watch lacrosse all the time to sort of know a player like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take a while, but I think hopefully better coverage will help make that go more quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
What advice would you give younger players who are playing lacrosse and what it takes to be a college player like yourself?
I mean, advice I would give them is just like never give up. I think playing any sport, it's easy to just like lose confidence if things aren't going your way, if you're not getting the looks that you wanted from schools, and just never give up because things will work out. And if you just keep pushing, each and every day, working your hardest to the best of your ability, I mean, things will work out. And yeah, just like if this is something you want to do, stick with it. And yeah, you'll get there.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, or friends? And who should we have on the podcast next?
Um, yeah, I'll give a shout out to Hunter Roman. She's a player of the BC women's lacrosse team, and I think that would be a good addition to your podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself. You're a great player and an even better person, and I just want to let you know that. And love watching you play last year. I'm excited to see you play another season with Florida. I know you're gonna have a lot of success, and I'm just wishing you all the success. But it was a huge honor for me to get the chance to meet and talk with you today.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.